So this is the demo session and overview session for Oracle Integration Cloud. So you guys are here to understand more about what is Oracle Integration Cloud as a technology, and also what kind of training is going to happen in this course, correct? So the way I'm going to offer this training, I have broken this whole training into two different flavors. One is only Oracle Integration Cloud. Okay, I will call that as just Integration Cloud OIC, without any touch with the Oracle Fusion applications. It means if somebody coming from non-Oracle applications background, you're not really looking at anything related to Fusion applications in the future. Maybe you're coming from Java background, or as you said, like some ODI background, or some other Oracle server background. Now you want to learn Oracle Integration Cloud. So that is the flavor one, right? This is the flavor one without having any relation to Fusion applications. We will also have one more flavor, that is Oracle Integration Cloud and Fusion Technical and Fusion Apps Technical. So this is going to have additional stuff which we are going to learn on top of what we are learning in the Integration Cloud. So there will be two different trainings will be happening. I'll be also providing the details about the schedule, etc. either today or maybe after the demo. Our friend Sahan is going to let you know. You can choose which one you are really interested for based on today's discussion. After further thinking, you can choose whether you want to go for flavor 1 or flavor 2. All right. I'm getting some message. Yeah, I'm going to answer that question, Harish. Yeah. Right. So coming to Oracle Integration Cloud. Yeah. So Oracle Integration Cloud. Let us talk about what is first integrations. What is the meaning of integration? And on those lines, we also need to understand what are the web services, because the web services are the building blocks for any integrations. When I say any integrations, the integrations, there are many platforms available in the integrations area in the market. So one of the very famous and matured integration platform for Oracle is Oracle Server. You would have heard about that. Oracle Server is also an integration platform. We're also having other platforms. We're having MuleSoft, which is an open source. That's also an integration platform. And now from Oracle, we're also actually having one more thing called Oracle Service Bus. That is also integration technology. And we have now Oracle Integration Cloud, that is OIC. So before we go and understand what exactly we do in the Integration Cloud, let's first understand about what is the purpose of integration and how we build the integrations, how we used to build the integrations earlier, and how we are going to build the integrations now in today's world after the Integration Cloud is available. That's what we are going to first see. So in order to understand what is a web service, you also need to know a little bit about what is web technology. There is something called web technology. So what is web technology? Nowadays, any application what you see, the UI will be available as a web UI. There's nothing but you go to browser and you will be able to access the functionality of that application with the help of a simple URL. So the web technology is providing application functionality as a URL. You'll be able to access the functionality just with the help of URL. And what is the tool you need? You just need browser, correct? If you have the browser, you drop the URL there, you are going to get the functionality of that application. Okay, then why this is connected to web services? So when we are talking about web technology, we're developing web applications, and the web applications are usually from B to C, nothing but business to customer. So you're having a end user application which you are calling from the browser, which you are accessing from the browser. But when you're talking about web services, it is a little bit different. The communication will be usually B2B, means business to business communication. So when you say business to business communication, you're having two different applications, application 1 and application 2. maybe more than 2 applications. So when you take any enterprise, in the enterprise you may be having n number of applications, and every application may be coming from a different technology. Application 1 may be, for example, your e-business suite. Application 2 may be your SAP. Application 3 may be your Salesforce. Application 4 may be related to something related to .NET technologies, and so on. So when your company and enterprise are having different set of applications, application 1, 2, 3, 4, coming from different technologies, in order to run your business at the end of the day, these applications should be able to communicate among them. What is the meaning of communicating? Nothing but technically, they should be able to exchange the data or messages among those applications. So how we used to do this earlier, if you're coming from Oracle database background, for example. In the Oracle database, what you can do, if I'm having 2 applications, application 1 is having one database, and then application 2 is having another database, DB1 and DB2. Okay. Then how you can access, if I want to access anything from any objects from DB1 to DB2. So the DB2 application would like to access some objects from the DB1. What you can do in that case? If both are Oracle databases, you can simply create a database link and I can access that one. That's very simple. Okay. If you're having all technologies, for example, Java applications, then what I can do, I can provide some Java API, and that Java API I can reuse among different applications. That's also possible. But the scenario what we are talking here, they are not just like the database applications, and they are not available only as a single technology. These applications are coming from various different technologies. You don't have the control on that one. But still you want to have some communication, you want to exchange the data among these applications. In that case, what we do usually, what is the solution for that one? So when you are talking about heterogeneous technologies, and if you want to have a integration between these technologies or integration between the applications which are coming from different technologies, you'll be able to achieve that with the help of web services. So what web service is doing, as I said, it's a B2B communication. So if application 1 would like to get some functionality from application 2, application 2 can provide some web service, and application 1 will be able to invoke that web service. If the application 2 would like to access something from application 4 can expose one web service, and application 2 can invoke that web service. So what is that magic happening in the web services? Without web service, you won't be able to simply communicate between 2 different applications if they're coming from different technologies specifically. But if you're able to have if you're having a web service, it is possible. So what web service is doing, web service is actually leveraging the technology, the concept, what we use in the web technology. Web service is also going to expose your service functionality as a URL. The moment the functionality is available as a URL, it becomes platform independent. It becomes independent of platform or technology independent, or we can say location independent. Everything becomes independent. So when you are talking about, one second. Just a moment. Right. So when you're talking about the web service, the functionality is available as URL, and that is making everything independent. It means the client of the web service client, and the web service provider, they both can be written in different technologies. The web service provider may be developing the web service using Java technologies, but the client application who would like to call that functionality, they can write the client using some other technology also. That can be coming from .NET technologies, it can be PHP, it could be PLSQL, it could be any other technology. As long as that technology or that specific language what we're talking is having some APIs to call the URLs. So if there is a way to call the URL and the web service provider is giving you one URL, So you can call that URL with the help of APIs which are available in that client technology. That's all you need to have. Nothing else is required. And the web service provider said what happened, they are generally going to run something called web server. In order to expose your functionality as a URL, if you want to expose any function as a URL, you need to have a web server. So that is required. Your implementation may be available in PLSQL. Your implementation may be available in Java, but you want to create a URL to expose that one, nothing but web service. That is possible only if you're having something called web server or HTTP server. That is required. So that's how any web service communication works. So when somebody is saying, I am developing a web service for the functionality, that means I'm going to expose my functionality as a URL, and you'll be able to call my functionality just by calling my web service. First of all, why we need to do this one? Everything is all about reusability. If you think about here, when we are even writing any simple programs, what we are doing usually, we are breaking all our functionality into reusable piece of functionalities, smaller methods, smaller operations, smaller functions, so that you can reuse that function from one place to another place. Let's say I'm having something called get customer details. The get customer details, if I'm writing as a function, I can use the same get customer details multiple times. Wherever I want, I can simply use it. I need not rewrite the code. In the earlier case, what is happening is you are developing the function within the technology. If I'm developing the PLSQL, it's a PLSQL API. If I'm writing a Java method, it's a Java method. It means those APIs or those functions can be reused within the same technology. But when you are talking about web service also exposing some function which can be reused. But the scope of the reusability is expanding here. You can reuse that function or that functionality across any technologies. You may be writing in Java, but you can also reuse within other technologies. So that is the advantage of web services. And that is the reason we always use web services for the integrations. The integration concept actually is becoming, this terminology actually we are using so much nowadays. But even before we talked about integrations, the web service was already available. And people were actually using web service for wherever you want to exchange the data. And if you don't directly have access to that server through that specific technology, we used to provide the web service earlier also. But now what happened, there are more frameworks available, more platforms available, which are going to support, which are going to help us to implement this whole concept in an easy manner. As a development team, I did not go on lots of code for developing the web service, or I want to invoke a web service, I need not write any code for that one. All that is possible with the help of these platforms. The same thing, if I go for any of these technologies, for example, Oracle Sova, OSB, MuleSoft, OIC, what they are trying to do, internally they are working with web services only. But using these technologies, I can easily create the web services. I can also easily invoke the web services. If you go for the traditional programming languages, the traditional programming languages like PLSQL, Java, C++, they're not really meant for working in the web services. You're having a lot of good support now. You can simply with one click, you can even expose your Java method as a web service. You can even expose your PLSQL API also as a web service with the help of ORDS. All that is possible. But traditionally what is happening is they are not really meant for or not having very good support for web services. That is the reason we're having other platforms which are specifically designed for working with web services. Okay. Now, if you're coming from Oracle applications background and if you're moving towards Fusion applications, the integrations is becoming very, very important because of one reason. What is that? In case of Oracle applications, the earlier technologies what are used, it's all based on the database technologies, right? So if you want to pull or push data from Oracle applications, you'll be having some PLSQL APIs. But when it comes to Fusion applications, the Fusion applications are available on the cloud. They're deployed on the cloud. Because of that reason, you don't have direct access to your database. In the Fusion applications, you will not be able to get direct access to your Fusion applications backend. But you cannot, because of that one, you cannot minimize your interactions. When you're having an ERP, when you're having business applications implemented in any company, So there's a lot of data you are storing in the application, business applications, and there will be always a need for either pushing or pulling the data from your business applications, the Fusion applications in this case. To support that, what Oracle has done, Oracle has implemented or exposing web services, nothing else. So what Oracle says, if you want to programmatically interact with your Fusion applications, either you want to push data or pull data, the best way is to use the web services. Who is developing the web services? Oracle team itself is developing the web service and providing us. And as a consultant or as a development team, what we can do, we can interact with the Fusion applications by invoking those web services. Now, as I said here, if you want to work with web services, you always will be good to use one of these platforms. So using those platforms, you'll be able to easily manage your web services. Not only that one, when you are going to invoke the web services, it may happen that you would like to develop more web services which can be reused within an enterprise. Why you need to do that one? The web service which is available in the Fusion applications, it could be any target application also for that matter. It need not be Fusion applications. If you're not coming from apps background, it's fine. It could be some other application, what I'm talking here. So those web services, you may not be like, no, that may be sufficient for your business requirement. You want to call that web service. On top of that, you want to add your own business logic. Or you want to call multiple web services from the target application and then combine them into one service. So all these things are very easily achievable using integration platforms. So that is the reason. So whenever you're talking about interacting among different applications, specifically when they're coming from different technologies, and in fact, nowadays what's happening is becoming more complex because some of your applications will be on premises, correct? Some of the applications may be coming from cloud provider one, like for example, Oracle Cloud, and some may be coming from some other cloud, for example, AWS or Azure, or you may be having some third-party cloud, any cloud. Now, one application is on-premises in enterprise, one application is coming from this cloud, the third application is coming from some other cloud, right? In those cases, what is happening? I'm getting some noise, okay, right? So then it becomes even more complex, how we are going to interact between them. So that's where integration platforms are going to be very, very helpful. So on those lines, what Oracle has done, Oracle has come up with something called Oracle Integration Cloud Platform, OIC Cloud Platform. So the OIC Cloud Platform is going to help us to develop different web services or to interact with the web services. So there are many features. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that one. Okay. So what exactly you need to learn for Oracle Integration Cloud? There are two different ways you can learn the integrations. One way to learn Integration Cloud is if you have a very specific requirement. Let's say I have a requirement to automate the file-based data import in Fusion applications. Or I have a requirement to download the BIP report data and manipulate that to like to write to some on-premise database. You may be having requirements like that. In that case, you can just go and understand like how that specific integration works. You can understand if somebody explains, you will be able to understand. But without knowing the fundamentals of integrations, without knowing the fundamentals of web services, what happens, even though you may be able to understand the specific integration, but when you're stuck with some issue, or tomorrow when you want to develop any other integration, you won't be able to easily cover the solution. So that is the reason why the way we are going to learn this technology in this training. First, we are going to build a foundation about the web services. So we are going to start with like, what is XML, what is XSD, WSDL, SOAP services, REST services, all these things first we are going to understand. The concepts are very, very important. After that, we are going to learn the integration cloud. With the integration cloud, primarily what you have to know how to expose integrations, like the different integrations are there, like basic routing integration. And then we're having orchestration. These are the main important integrations. We're also having something called publish and subscribe. Okay, So you have to first understand in the integration cloud, what are these different patterns available, how we are going to use them. And the way you are going to develop the integration, usually what happens, you are going to deal with adapters. So if you want to develop an integration, we are going to deal with the adapters. What do we do with the adapters? We are going to create connections. And using connections, we are going to build the integrations. So primarily, what you have to know is, you have to first know how to develop an integration and expose that as a SOAP or REST. This is one use case. You should also know how to invoke an existing SOAP or REST services. On top of that, you should also know how to use other adapters. What are other adapters? Like you may be having FTP adapter, file adapter, database adapter, Oracle ERP cloud adapter, and so on. Now, how many adapters we are going to learn? There will be some limit. But it doesn't matter. Whether you are doing like 2 adapters, 3 adapters in the training, it doesn't matter. The important thing is, you need to get the complete concept of how to work with the integrations by using different adapters. Every adapter configuration will be different. But once you know the concept, the approach, how you have to, when you are having a problem, how to approach for that. If that is clear, then you will be able to work with any adapter tomorrow. Today, you may be working with Oracle ERP adapter. Tomorrow, you want to work with Salesforce adapter. It will be very easy to do that one. You need to just know how to configure Salesforce adapter. For that, you should be knowing what are the different URLs you need. So your Salesforce team is going to provide that. And once you have that, it will be easy to create the connections in the integration cloud, and then you'll be able to develop the integrations. Okay. So in order to learn this integration, the first part, I have actually created one project. I'm going to teach this whole thing with the help of one small project. So as I said, first we are going to work with the foundation, and then you are going to start with the integrations. So what we are going to do the integration, let me also quickly show this, the syllabus here, right? If you want to just quickly know, as I said, the flavor one. The flavor one is more about learning the part one here, the integration cloud service. The integration cloud service, you're not really talking too much about Fusion applications. So we are going to do the part one. We're also going to do something, one example with Fusion applications. That is how to, let's say, create subnets in the Fusion applications with the help of web services which are available in the Fusion applications. Those things, one example will be there in the flavor one. I'm talking about flavor one means without Fusion applications. We'll also learn about Oracle SOA a little bit. So if you want to go for flavor 2 here, the flavor 2 what we are doing, we're also keeping the Fusion applications technical. The way we are going to learn there, we are learning the foundation of web services. Then you're learning different aspects, concepts, components of integration cloud. That's the part one. Then you are going to learn the Fusion technical. In the Fusion technical, this is not related to integration cloud directly. This is more about understanding about your reporting, BIP reporting, OTBI reporting, file-based data import. File-based data import is nothing but data loading into Fusion applications in ERP, in the Fusion ERP. It's having its own set of steps you have to follow. You have to first download some template and prepare the data. Then you have to prepare after the upload. After that, you have to upload the file to UCM, then schedule process. So all those things you are going to learn in the Fusion technical, the part 2. Then you're also going to learn how to use enterprise schedule service, right? File import export, then OTBI, BIP. Those things you are going to learn in the Fusion technical. As I mentioned, when you are doing this one, this doesn't have any direct relation with the integration cloud. But why we are doing, if you're really trying to migrate yourself from Oracle applications to Fusion applications, you also need to know this bit. If you're already working in this area, that's well and good. Then you can ignore that one. After this, what we do, we'll also learn a few other technologies. I'll come to part 3. I'm generally doing the reverse order nowadays. First, what I do, after learning integration cloud, Fusion technical, then we'll all go and learn what is VBCS. In the VBCS, what we're going to develop one VBCS application with the help of 2 different scenarios. One is with the help of business objects. The second one is with the help of Fusion services. The VBCS works the way the VBCS works. It is always going to expect your backend is available as a REST API. The Fusion applications are already having the REST APIs. So using those REST APIs, we are going to build one user interface here. Let's say I want to pull all the query all the suppliers available in the Fusion applications with the help of REST service. And from there, I want to navigate to the showing the details of that supplier. That is second flavor. The first use case is I want to build everything from scratch. I don't have anything in my VB in the application. I don't have a database. So there I can develop my business objects, and using business objects, I can go and build the UI. So the VBCS is meant for developing the end-to-end UI applications. The integrations is not for UI application. The integrations is more about your backend services, correct? Reusable backend services. VBCS is you are going to use those services to provide your UI. That's how we are going to do it. Those services, the backend services may be coming from your integration cloud instance, or they may be coming from some other server also. It could be Fusion server, whatever it may. So you are going to get some flavor about VBCS as a technology, how it will be used. But if somebody wants to become the real expert of VBCS, the topics what we're covering here is not sufficient. The VBCS itself is a separate technology. If you really want to become expert, then these topics are not sufficient. There you have to learn much more depth, much more scenarios, and you should be in fact working in a project there, developing some small size HRMS application like that. So this training is not doing that much of depth. Okay. The same thing we do for other parts of here in the part 4. We are going for Oracle ADF. The Oracle ADF also, I'm going to talk about what is JDeveloper, what is WebLogic Server, ADF business components, ADF phases, how to develop applications using that one, what is developing application, deployment means, all that we'll be covering. We'll be showing small application there also. But again, if somebody wants to become ADF expert, that is not sufficient, because we are putting 4 different major technologies and just adding them into other integration cloud technology training. Why we are doing this? Because you may need to work with this technology at some point, or you may want to at least have some idea about those technologies so that you'll be able to take the decisions in much better way. Tomorrow, what happens after this training, when you go back and working, there may be some discussion happening in the team. Oh, we want to provide some UI for my custom UI for accessing something from the Fusion, etc. Then the question will arise, what should I use? Should I use Oracle ADF? Should I use VBCS for that one? At least you will understand and you will be able to participate in the discussion and take the decision making. The same thing we are doing for Oracle SOA and PCS also. Oracle SOA is much more relevant in this context because that is also another integration platform. In fact, in case of Oracle SOA, you'll be able to easily understand what I'm going to teach here. That we are doing after learning the integration cloud. Correct. So here we are going to develop again 2 different applications in Oracle SOA. Using JDeveloper, you are going to create one application with the help of mediator and file adapter and the database adapter. We're going to create one more application with the help of BEPL and then DB adapter and file adapter. So with the help of that, you'll understand the different components of Oracle SOA, how that is different from Oracle Integration Cloud, how you implement the same thing using Integration Cloud, and how you're implementing with the help of Oracle SOA. You'll get some idea about that. Here, actually, it's going to be very, very easy to understand compared to, for example, PCS is completely different from Integration Cloud, Process Cloud Service. There also we're going to learn how to create one approval workflow using PCS. 1 or 2 examples we're going to do that. So that is the other part. So after you learn Integration Cloud, Fusion Technical, and these things, then we are going to work with the live integration of the Fusion applications. The live integration of Fusion applications. What we are trying to here, I will come back to this one. But before that, what I'm going to do in the Integration Cloud part 1, I'll try to explain a little bit more. Okay. If anybody has questions, you can stop me because I've been, any quick questions if you want. I'll be giving time for questions also. But if you're not able to follow what I am saying, if I'm going too fast or whatever, you can just stop. So in the Integration Cloud, what we're doing, I created Let me open those diagrams. I'll be able to help. If I go there, it will be easy to understand. So I'm going to provide the same thing with the help of one project activity guide also. Okay. So I have designed a project which contains different scenarios in this. It's very difficult to actually become expert of integration cloud without proper scenarios. I can just go and show like, no, you can use this orchestration if activity. This is a for loop. You can do that. FTP adapter used for downloading the files, etc. But you will not be able to relate practically how you are going to use it. So the way we are going to do is there is a here also we are having different layers. Okay, like this. I'm first building small application here called validate CC. Validate the credit card. Basically, what we are trying to here. We are creating one project for processing the purchase order without any relation with your Fusion applications. This is a part one of your training. Okay. So everything we are going to create here, nothing is coming from anywhere. When I say nothing is coming from, we are not using any existing web services. We're not using anything from like Fusion applications. We're not using any XML files from outside applications. We are going to create XML. We are going to create WSDL. We are going to create XSG, what we need. We are going to create CSV files, JSON files, everything we are going to build. In fact, in order to help these practices and project, I'm also going to share one more thing to you guys. That is this one. So here we are having the resources, what I'm going to share. And this contains one activity guide, which is going to help you working on certain activities. On top of that, you're also having this different files. I'm having a set of files which are going to help you. For example, you may be working on some scenario where you have to read some data from existing database tables, or you want to push some data into your database tables. So how are you going to get those database tables? For that, you'll be having SQL scripts here. Or you are developing some integration where you want to expose that as a SOAP web service. In order to expose a SOAP web service, you need to have a WSDL file. The WSDL files, we're having a set of files which are already available here, and you'll be able to make use of those files based on the practice what we're working on, and you'll be able to work on the practices. On the same manner, you may be needing CSV files, you may be needing JSON files, XSDs, XMLs, some zip files. All those files are properly organized into these folders, and you'll be able to get access to these complete resources. And obviously, you are going to get the instance access. So integration cloud instance access will be there. So with the help of instance access and the resources, you'll be able to work on the practices. So on top of that, as I mentioned, we are going to work with the different scenarios. So we are trying to develop one project for processing the purchase order. So here, the very first scenario, what we are doing is, okay, I'm getting some messages in chat. So now here, I'm going to develop one integration in the integration cloud, and I'm going to expose that integration as SOAP service. So what is that I'm trying to do? This integration is going to accept one new order as an input, new purchase order. And that purchase order, I'm going to process it based on some conditions. What conditions? I'm going to check whether this purchase order is small or large. The amount of the purchase order is, for example, less than $1,000. I'm assuming that it's a small order. And the order also contains the credit card details. So if it's a small order, I want to process it immediately without checking any further conditions. And what I'm trying to do in the processing, I'm going to change the status of my order to appropriate one based on some conditions, and then write that processed order into FTP. Some cloud FTP server also I'm going to give the instance access. Not only that one, the processed order details also will be returned as a response for this service what I am developing. So one thing you don't get confused. we are saying that we are going to work with integrations, but most of the case when I'm going to show the scenarios, I'll be talking about exposing a service. Why we are saying that one? Because every integration what you are developing, you are going to either expose that as a service, or you want to create as a scheduled integration. Only two ways where you will be able to do it. What is scheduled integration? Scheduled integration means I'm creating an integration and there is no need to manually invoke that one. You will create some interval. I want to trigger this integration to run once in a day, once in an hour, once in 3 hours, whatever. It will automatically run that integration according to the schedule what you created. That is one way of developing the integrations. The other way of developing integrations is you may be having a requirement where you want to invoke that integration. So when you say invoking the integration, we are going to export the integration as a service that is nothing but either a SOAP service or REST service. Indirectly what you are doing, learning here, you are indirectly learning how to create SOAP web services, how to create REST web services with the help of integration cloud. So when I'm saying, when I'm doing this one, you're also learning how to develop a SOAP service with the help of integration cloud, because I'm exposing this integration as a SOAP service. Now, additional business logic is going to help us to understand more other components. Now, when I say this is a less than amount, less than $1,000 amount, what you have to do, you need to know how to use if condition in the integration, right? If you're using PLSQL, you'll be using if statement. Similar way here also, you are learning if condition now. And then I'm telling, I want to set the status to auto approved. This is going to help you to learn how to use the local variables. And in that variable, I'm going to set the status auto approved in this case. And then write to FTP. This is indirectly learning, teaching you how to interact with your FTP server with the help of FTP adapter. See, one integration already in this scenario itself, you learned how to expose your integration as a SOAP service, how to use your if condition, how to use a variable mapping, etc., and how to work with your FTP write operation. Also, how to return the existing, return some response in specific format, like XML or whatever. In the other flow you see now, if it's a large order, here what I want to do, I want to validate the credit card. How do I do that one? I will be validating the credit card by invoking a REST service. And in the REST service, I'm going to give the input. I'll be getting the response from that service. Once I get the service response, I'm going to check whether the status is valid or invalid. If it is valid, I want to set the status of the order to approved, otherwise invalid credit card. And then that also will go and write to FTP and return the processed order. So with this, what you are learning now, you are able to understand here how to invoke an existing REST service. Integrations are nothing but you have to learn all these things. We are learning with the proper scenarios. That's the difference. If you don't know how to call REST service, then there is no integration. Integration, you are going to invoke an existing SOAP service, invoke an existing REST service, or invoke the target application with the help of some other adapters. That's the main thing. On top of that, you also need to write some business logic, like if conditions, looping. Sometimes you need to work with the exception, the fault management, etc., work with variables, etc. All those things you are going to learn in a different, like in a step by step in these scenarios. Now, when I say here invoking the credit card, where is this service coming from? This service may be coming from anywhere. But in our training, what you do actually, before you come and develop this integration, you would have already developed this integration. This separate integration you developed, where you are creating an integration to expose that is a REST service, which is going to accept the credit card number as an input query parameter. And then that is going to return one JSON. That JSON will contain the status is valid or invalid. And how we are achieving that one? In order to make this whole implementation simpler, because you don't want to add too many dependencies also for practices. Let's say I want to validate the credit card, real credit card validation. It is not possible because you need to have an authorized.NET or some service. What we are doing is putting some simple business logic. The credit card number is 1234, 1234, whatever, or 4321, I want to return valid, otherwise it invalid. So this service you are exposing REST service. The same service what you already created and exposed, that service you are going to access in the PO processing as a REST service. You are only doing everything. But here you are learning how to invoke the REST service. Okay. We're not stopping here. Here what we are doing, somebody is invoking your integration. The way we are going to develop this project, you create something, you reuse that one. So here you are creating this one and reusing that here. Now I create this one, I want to reuse this in another place. How will I do that now? I'm creating one more scenario. What is the scenario? Now I have a service which can take new order, which is XML data usually. SOAP means always XML input. New purchase order XML, and it knows how to process. My requirement is now, I'm having a CSV file on FTP. Some FTP location, I'm having some CSV file. That CSV file contains one order. So what I want to do now, I want to develop an integration and schedule it. If you'll go and read that file from FTP server. So here what I'm doing, I'm reading that CSV file using FTP adapter connection. So you're understanding how to use read operation of FTP here. And then I'm going to call the invoke PO processing here. Which PO processing? The one I developed here. So the same PO processing will be able to process the order which is available on a CSV file on FTP server. That is one scenario. One more scenario I'm doing, I'm not stopping here. The CSV file may be having multiple orders. This integration will only process one order in the CSV file because I'm not handling any loop, nothing here. I'm assuming that there's only one order. The next use case, what we are doing, the CSV file may contain multiple orders. That's also available in FTP only. Then what I want to do, I want to still read that file, but here I'm learning how to use for loop in the orchestration, in the integration now. So here I read it, then I'm getting a list of orders from that CSV file. I'm using a for loop in the orchestration of the integration. And then what I do, I take each order and process that using again PO processing. Then I check if there are more orders, go and read that. Like that, I'm processing all the orders from that CSV file. Set of CSV files. See here, multiple things you are going to learn. Even though it looks simple here, one thing you are learning how to deal with a CSV file which is having multiple files. How you are going to read the data from FTP. Once you have the list of records in the integration, how you are going to integrate that list of records in the integration cloud. You are getting CSV data, but the PO processing is expecting XML data as an input. How you are going to convert that one? All those insights you are going to get with this integration. Now here, one more scenario we can talk about. One CSV file, no, it's not one CSV. Now my requirement is, I'm having a zip file. And the zip file contains multiple CSV files. And every CSV file contains multiple orders. Now what I'm going to learn? With this, I'm going to learn many more concepts. So I have a zip file which is on the FTP server. I want to download that zip file and extract the CSV files. So when I download and extract, I'm going to get set of CSV files. And every CSV file will contain set of purchase orders. So now the file data is available within my integration cloud. So here we need to learn how to use stage file operation. Without stage file, you won't be able to read the data. If you zip file, what we are doing, I don't have the actual files on the FTP. The zip file is there. So I download, extract the files within my integration. Then in the integration, I'm going to use stage file. With the help of stage file, I'll be able to read the data in a CSV structure. And then that CSV file is having again multiple POs. Then for each PO, I'm going to call the PO processing by converting from CSV to XML. Like that, I'm having nested for loop here. We are learning nested for loops. We are learning how to download a zip file and extract it. Also, we are learning how to use stage file for reading the data for a specific structure. Then you can think of more scenarios like this, but I'll probably end with one more scenario here. What is this scenario? In the previous scenario, I'm expecting there's only one zip file. Always it's a hard-coded zip file name. Here the requirement is my FTP server is having a set of zip files like order1 csv.zip, order csv2.zip, order csv3.zip. Like that, you are having set of CSV files, zip files. And every zip file will contain again set of CSV files. Every CSV file will contain set of orders. Right? So you are having a list of zip files. And every zip file contains a set of CSV files. And every CSV file contains a set of orders. So what I want to now, I want to process each and every order from the zip file. So then what we'll do, we'll create an integration, something like this. Not only that, my requirement here is, let me just make it a little bigger, whether I have that here or not. Yeah. So not only that, what I want to do, in fact, after processing my each CSV file, which is a set of orders, right? The set of orders I may be getting like multiple XML files or multiple JSON files as a response. I want to create a zip of those response, those processed orders also. I want to create a separate zip of processed orders. Let's say this is XML or CSV. The response processed order I want in XML or JSON. And now one CSV contains 5 orders. So all the 5 orders which are processed, I want to create one zip file and write it to FTP folder. Like that, for every CSV file, I want to create a separate zip file and write to FTP. That is what we are doing in this case. So what we are trying to do here is a little bit small. Let me make it. So here what we'll do, we are first processing the, this is a schedule orchestration. We are going to get the list of files from FTP. So we are learning how to use list files operation from FTP. This is going to give the list of zip files available. Once you get that, everything else you know now. Already you've done like other scenarios. So now you download the zip file. You're having one more for loop here. For each zip file, like it's a list of zip files, iterate that, download the zip file, then extract the zip file. Rest all is same. Only thing, one difference here is, in the previous case, I'm not creating a separate zip file. I'm just leaving it after processing. I'm not doing anything there. But here what I'm doing after processing, for the specific CSV file, all the orders which are processed, I'm writing them into one folder as an XML file using stage file operation again. And those XML files, at the end, what I will do, I'm going to create a zip file using stage file. First I'm writing and then creating a zip file of all those XML files. And then I'm going to write the zip file into FTP. So this is another layer. So you're also learning now how to create zip files within your integration. So when you are doing all these different scenarios, you are learning different concepts, and you are learning different activities and components of integration cloud. So when you go to integration cloud, let me also quickly go to integration. Which one? Yeah, right. Yeah. So this is my integration cloud. I logged in. This is how it looks like. So integrations, when I say you are going to work with these integrations primarily, then you are going to learn what are the adapters, creating connections using those adapters, creating integrations like that. So you are going to get, of course, hands-on of all these different things. And then you are going to create integrations of different scenarios. Like when you're saying create, you'll be able to create the integration of app-driven, scheduled orchestration, publishing, subscribe to OSE. Basic routing is becoming already deprecated, but we learned that file transfer. File transfer, I'm not really trying to cover much because you can achieve all that within the scheduled orchestration in the Abdon orchestration. If anybody really needed that one, I will try to cover that now. Because the stage fill and all is what we are doing is more than sufficient. Then there is something called lookouts. This is very useful when you are reading data from like one domain to another domain. All those things will be covering. But as I said, with the help of the scenarios what we are covering, in fact, this is not everything. I'm just talking about some scenarios what we're talking about as a project. What we didn't do in this, for example, we didn't do database adapter, which is there already separate scenarios. So what we are going to, the database adapter, when you are going to work with database adapter, we are going to work with agent concept. So there is an agent concept for whenever you're having the data outside integration cloud, means outside the cloud, anything on premises, you want to deal with your on-premise database, or you want to deal with your on-premises file system. In that case, you are going to work with the agent configuration. So you are going to learn how to set up agent, how to download the agent. Then once your agent is running, how can you communicate with your on-premise database? So you are going to create some integrations to read the data from HR schema, or to write the data back into HR schema, etc. So, and then you are also going to learn how, of course, the monitoring and all that we cannot ignore. So here there is a way to monitor your integrations, what you are testing, etc. So this is going to help us. Okay, I have developed one integration. I tested it. Now I want to go and see what happened to my integration when I'm requesting, when I'm executing. So that monitoring aspects, all that stuff we are going to learn, how to work with the activity streams. Those things will be anyway getting hands-on on that. All explained so far what I explained is a part one only. Because this is very, very important for you guys. If you become expert in the part one, that's not even integration cloud technology, then nobody can stop you. Tomorrow you can create any integration. It could be Fusion application, Salesforce, or SAP, it doesn't matter. But that foundation is very, very important. And once we complete this one, if somebody is going for the flavor one training, we'll also continue with Oracle SOA there. This part of Oracle SOA. That is the end of the training for flavor 1. But if for flavor 2, who wants to learn Fusion Technical, etc., we'll continue with Fusion Technical, and then we'll go to these technologies, and then we are going to do the live integrations. As I said, even the first flavor also, we are going to do one integration. That is creating integrations with which one? These 3 scenarios we are going to do in the flavor 1 also. You need some live scenario to show after you learned all the integration cloud concepts, everything. You did one project on your own. Now I want to take some data from my database or take some data from my CSV file. I want to create some suppliers on the Fusion applications, and all. I'll be covering that also. But when it comes to flavor 2, more about your Fusion Technical and much more scenarios with the Fusion applications. What we are trying to do here, one second. Oracle Fusion Div Support certification. Okay, so I'll answer your question. Just let me cover this. So here, when it comes to now Fusion live integrations, which is very, very important if you're going towards Fusion applications. Here, we are doing again multiple scenarios. What scenarios we are doing? The first scenario we're talking about here, working with your BIP reports. The BIP report you created, you learned how to create BIP report in the part 2. The BIP report is available in the Fusion applications. You want to create one integration which should run that BIP report, download the report data, and manipulate it. When you say manipulate, whether you want to generate that whole data into a file, FTP, or you want to take record by record. Let's say I'm creating a report for list of invoices. Now invoices list is going to contain n number of invoices in the report output. My requirement is I want to put some business logic where I want to extract only the invoices where the invoice amount is greater than 1,000 and write them into my database table. on-premise database table. Those details also we are going to cover. The next, when it comes to FBDI, file-based data import, which you learned here, there are manual steps available. Now what I want to do, I want to develop an FBDI automation. What we are trying to do here, my FBDI, the CSV file is available in FTP, for example. I want to read that CSV file in my integration, and that integration has to upload that file into UCM in the Fusion applications, and also schedule the process which is going to import the data into Fusion applications. Wait until the process completed, then download the log files from that process and write those log files into your FTP. In fact, what happens when you're coming to these scenarios, most of the basic concepts you already learned in the part 1, how to work with FTP, how to deal with XML data, how to with JSON data, how to put conditions, those things you already learned. What additionally you are learning here, how to work with specific web services available in the Fusion applications. That's very important. Okay, so the foundation is there, you are applying those foundation. Whatever you learned in the part 1, part 2, put together, you are developing these solutions now. On those lines, what we're also doing, we're also going to work with the REST APIs. For Fusion integrations, we are going to work with 3 different ways. In Fusion applications, I already told you, right? Okay, fine. I'll just mention that again. Fusion applications may be exposing SOAP APIs, SOAP services, or REST services, or adapters. So if you look at this one, the first example I'm using SOAP service. Second example, you are automating FBDI. At the same time, you are also using one flavor with the help of ERP integration service, again SOAP service. The same integration, you're also going to redo with the help of ERP Cloud Adapter. You will also see the difference. If I'm using a web service from Fusion applications for automating FBDI, what is the complexity? If I'm using ERP Cloud Adapter, what is the easiness or what are the benefits I'm going to get for FBDI automation? Why you need to do both? Because these adapters will be available only in the integration cloud platform. You may also have a requirement in your company where you're not using integration cloud. You're using some Java, simple Java. You want to automate the FBDI. You can still do that with the help of ERP integration service, which is a SOAP service. We are doing both the flavors so that you're not tied to use only integration cloud platform. You're actually, the way you're learning, it is much more than just integration cloud platform. We're getting the foundation of web service and integrations in general also. So tomorrow, even if you have to work outside the integration cloud platform, you'll be able to do that. Okay, so that's the FBDI automation. Then you are also working with the Fusion applications to deal with the REST APIs which are exposed in the Fusion applications. Like I want to get all the list of suppliers from Fusion applications with the help of REST API. I want to get one specific supplier with the help of Fusion REST API. We are going to do some integration using that one. I will be getting some JSON data. I want to convert that into some XML. I may be getting some JSON data which is very complex. I want to trim that. I want to expose that as the integration. So we are taking some scenarios and implementing this one. And these integrations, in fact, we're also going to call them in the VBCS when you do the VBCS. Coming back to these scenarios, we are doing, in fact, more scenarios for suppliers. Yeah. What we are doing here, this is again SOAP service, but you are going to learn here fault management real scenarios. So I will take one use case where I have some suppliers which are available in on-premise database. I want to develop an integration which can read the data from that on-premise database, the suppliers, and create the suppliers in the Fusion applications and update the status back into your on-premise database whether your supplier is successfully created or not created. So that is going to actually help you a lot of, it is going to show you different scenarios, different concepts of how to work with your fault management, how to read the data from database adapter using database adapter in the on-premise database, how to identify whether the record is completed or not completed in the Fusion application successfully. If it is successfully not done, how to catch that fault and then update the status back into database in the on-premise, etc. We are going to cover that. Now the data may be coming from the database. Other scenarios is the database data may be coming from on-premise file system. It could be coming from FTP server. We are going to take a few more scenarios. In fact, those scenarios are not going to be much difficult for you because you already learned those things in the PO processing what we did in the platform. So it's a mix of both. You're doing some generic things as a technology, and you're applying that knowledge for a specific requirements with the Fusion applications. So this is going to actually build a lot of confidence in you in such a way that you're not just tied to specific scenarios. You'll be able to provide integration solutions for any scenarios what you need in future. That's how you're learning in this time. If you want to see some glance like here, I'm not sure if I have the integrations here. This is a little bit new instance. Let me check. Okay. For example, you take this integration. I'll create one clone of this. So what we are doing, this is integration we are developing in the training. This is FBD automation. With the help of, I need to check whether it is ERP integration service. Yes, it's the ERP integration service. Like you're downloading the CSV file, uploading that to UCM in the Fusion applications, then scheduling that import job, then using while loop, you're waiting for until that process completed, getting the job status, check whether that's completed, not completed. Once that is completed, you're going to download the log files, and then you are going to write the log files into FTP server, something like that. This is what I was telling. To go back to here integration. This scenario we are talking about. But this scenario, we are doing two different flavors. One is ERP integration service, one using ERP adapter. This example is with the help of ERP integration service, the one I shown here. So in many places, what I'll be doing, I'll be showing scenario one. I'll also give you 2-3 more scenarios to work upon on your own. Because what happens otherwise, you'll be able to understand very easily while you are listening to the my session. But it's not always like that, right? You need to also think on your own and come with solutions. So in order to get that practice, used to get that kind of scenarios, I'll be also giving some additional scenarios to work on as assignments. And when you come to the next session, we'll be able to discuss if you're stuck on something and you have some questions, etc. We'll be able to discuss that. Okay. Right. I think then you also get instance access. As I said, OIC instance access will be generally getting for 3 months. If you're going for the Fusion technical flavor, you'll also get the Fusion instance for 6 months. You also get the FTP server access for 6 months. And you'll also get the additional resources and all these scenarios. With the help of that, you'll be learning end-to-end of integration cloud, different concepts. I'm getting some chat messages. Okay, let me take one by one here. Sudhi is asking, looking for Oracle Fusion, do you support certification? So when you say Oracle Fusion, you're talking the functional or this technical?
No, yeah, both techno-functional. I would say that, in my current project, we have a data where we'll get, the payments, will get generated in Oracle Fusion, and that will get transferred to another application.
Okay.
So you UCM. So just I want to understand, how this functionality will work, So that
Okay.
is it.
Sure. Definitely, we can discuss that.
I'll come up with a scenario, what exactly I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
anyway, you have given very good example among like data flow diagram, right? You presented, right? So similar way, I'll come up with the requirement. Then I think maybe we'll discuss in detail on that. Okay. So we'll take that as a scenario. Okay, while doing the lab practice. Okay.
Okay.
And the other one is it for OICS? Do we have a certification? If yes, means then how to.
So OICS, there is certification available. Let me actually type that details also here. Let me share it back. There is a OIC 1Z0. Sorry, 1Z0 1042 -20. This is the latest certification for OIC.
Okay.
So it actually contains multiple modules. One is Integration Cloud. It also contains Process Cloud Service, Oracle SOA, API platform, etc. We are covering large extent in this course. So many people who attended this training earlier, they're able to clear the certification. I'll be also able to share you some dumps, but which are from the previous version, 1Z01042. But people told me they're almost same. I mean, they're able to get the help of those dumps, what I shared, even for the 20 also, this new version also. So with the help of like what you learned in this training and with additional preparation, you should be able to clear the certification.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And then Tanvir asked, how do we know if Oracle integration is available? One second, let me. Available in the cloud environment.
Hello, Bhaskar. Nice to hear you.
Yeah, hi Tanvir.
Thank you.
No problem. So, see, the Oracle integration is available in the cloud environment means you will be getting the, once you have the subscription, you should be creating the instance in the Oracle cloud. And then that will be having a URL directly you can log into integration instance.
So it's like a separate service which we subscribe to,
Right.
like any other module or something.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Anybody else has any questions? I'm not sure. I mean, I was talking so much. I hope you are able to follow that. But if you still want any specific information on any of the things what I explained, or something you were expecting and I didn't cover that, we can discuss that now.
Hi, Bhaskar. This is Mahesh.
Yeah, Mahesh.
So are we, actually I'm looking for Fusion technical also.
Okay.
Okay. So are you going to explain in another scenario like invoices loading, AP invoices or AR invoices, general ledger importing things? Are you taking only one example?
Yeah. So for that, actually, what we are doing is we are covering that one as part of your part 2 FBDI. Okay. But in this case, I think I've taken the example of daily rates. So whatever you're covering in the daily rates, you'll be able to follow. I mean, you can apply the same steps for invoices loading also.
Okay, so it will be applicable. I can follow same steps for other integrations also.
Any other data loading, you'll be same steps.
Okay, thank you.
Because there I'm going to show you where to get the Oracle documentation, how to download the template, FBDI template, and how to prepare the data. The steps will be same.
So related to tables, so in Oracle Fusion, where we can get the table information for each module wise? That information are you going to share?
Usually you don't need to have the information about the tables unless you're creating a BIP report where you can access your backend database objects directly.
Yeah.
Most of the times, either you're going to work with OTB reports, which is like having subject areas, which we are going to learn that here.
Okay.
And the subject areas are going to expose all your business objects, your backend objects as a part of subject areas. With the help of subject areas, you will be able to create the OTBI reports.
So in this session, are we going to learn creating a BIP reports, OTBI reports, or
Yes.
only it's related to integration?
No, we are doing that. See, the part 2 is about that.
Okay.
Part 2 is all manual fusion technical.
Okay. Thank you.
Part 3 is the integrations, putting together. Like what you learned here and here, you're putting together live integrations.
Okay, Bhaskar. Thank you.
No problem. And Harish said, do we need the Java knowledge for ICS? No. You don't need to know Java knowledge for learning integration cloud. Okay.
Thanks, Bhaskar. And also, Bhaskar, I had just had one question. So if we opt for the second flavor, right? Then all the parts will be covered, part 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? So one thing you can do is, if you want any more information, if you have any queries, you can also directly ping me. I'm just putting my mobile number here. Let me send this on chat. You can also note.
Bhaskar, Tanvir here.
Yeah.
So the flavor 1 and flavor 2, which you said, these are going to be two different streamlines in testing, like
yeah,
two different streams of testing. Okay, like I'm sorry, training.
Training, yeah, correct.
Okay.
I'm also giving Sahana number in case Sahana number is not there with us. Just 1 second. Sahana number, let me type here.
Hi, Bhaskar, this is Bharat here. Are we covering the mechanism in the OIC?
I can't hear you, Bharat. Can you just repeat that?
Yeah, are we covering the error handling mechanism?
Database handling.
Error handling.
Yes. We are covering that as part of, in fact, this one. In this, if you go here in the part 3, when you go to this integrations, specifically handling the errors with the fault management, we are going to do in detail about that.
Okay. Harish, after training, like if we are if we get any real-time projects, so we have any WhatsApp group there where we can post our questions, where we can clear the real-time.
We can discuss that offline about that, like how you want to really deal that. But
okay.
You can ping me maybe tomorrow or Monday.
Okay.
We can discuss more on that.
Sure.
Hello, Bhaskar. This is Satyendra.
Yeah. Can you tell me?
Yeah, Bhaskar. If you are apt for flavor 1, that means we could not get the fusion access, right?
Right.
Okay. So if we are doing any performances on OIC for testing, unable to test in the fusion application as well, right?
Performance means like what?
Performance means, for example, we are loading supplier data into the fusion. So we are creating one supplier integration. So that time, unable to see the data, what the data is.
No, fusion application, yes, I'll be giving the instance access. I'm sorry, because you have to do that. So if you want to do that, yes, you will at least get for some days, yeah, fusion instance also.
Okay.
Not like 6 months, but there may be a little less. Okay.
Thank you, Bhaskar.
No problem.
Yeah, Bhaskar, are you here? One more question, Bhaskar. So, like during the training, right? So you will be taking the training, or will be somebody else will be taking?
I'll be taking the training. Yeah.
Bhaskar?
I'm going to take the training. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Raja. Yeah. So you have some questions?
Able to hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if I wanted to more proficient in ADF and VBCS, do we have any other trainings apart from this?
Yes, VBCS, we will be having one more separate training, mostly from 1st or 2nd week of October.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Detailed training, yes. There you will be learning VBCS, all the concepts in depth with some sample project, etc. What else you asked, sorry? VBCS and what else?
ADF.
ADF, we may not be having live training. I used to actually provide the ADF training earlier. But you can talk to me offline. There are actually recordings are available from last batch. And in ADF case, I also have a very detailed activity guide which I created with some scenarios properly there. So with the help of those resources and the previous, all the session recordings, etc., probably you can learn. I can also provide some support on top of it.
Okay.
Let's see if that is going to be sufficient. Yeah, mostly you should be able to sufficient. The only thing is the recordings. The only problem would be you need to have a lot of motivation on your own, right? Because there is nobody asking. Yeah. I'm getting some noise. Yeah. Okay.
I'll check with you offline.
No problem, Raja. Yeah, sure. So please note down my number if anybody would like to send me a message. And I have given this Sahana's number. Most of you guys already have Sahan number.
So, Bhaskar, this is Lakshman this side. I have one question. For the flavor to Fusion Technical, are we covering also Java Cloud something? Java Cloud, Java Cloud services or anything?
Java Cloud Service, no. I will be talking about that in ADF when I'm talking about ADF there in the training. There is one portion for ADF, right? That time I will just talking what is Java Cloud Service. But I'm not directly covering how to deploy your ADF application to Java Cloud Service. I'll be telling what is the difference between ADF on-premises versus Java Cloud Service, etc.
Okay, but do you have any other training around that?
For Java Cloud Service?
Yeah.
As of now, we don't have any training for that.
Okay. Okay.
But that if you know ADF, actually you can do Java Cloud Service also. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, but in detail, like a container and what else? I mean, just to know.
See, that is more about understanding of WebLogic server.
Okay.
The WebLogic server will be available on the cloud, in the Java Cloud Service. Then you develop the ADF applications locally using JDeveloper, and then you are going to deploy that application to your Java Cloud Service WebLogic server.
Okay.
So if you know how to work with your ADF, and then if you know how to deploy and all, I mean, what I mean to say is in case if you are having, of course, proper training will be good, but otherwise also you should be able to manage in general if you know ADF.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So as part of this ADF, I mean, will you be also covering developing a new page or anything and integrate with existing SaaS application?
I'll be creating, yes, in fact, 4 different pages. That is for HRMS application, you create, if you're talking about the ADF, what I'm covering within this course, okay?
Okay.
The ADF part, what I'm doing here, this I'm telling, will be covering like 4 or 5 pages we're going to create with the help of HR schema. That is completely independent of Fusion applications. And if you really want to know the in-depth of ADF, then this is not sufficient. That training will be different.
No, I mean, so the on-premise ADF deployment, I'm a little bit aware of. So I just want to see like how ADF will be fit into the cloud environment. Like,
you can't do actually much with on the Fusion applications using ADF also. The only thing what you have to do is somebody actually, sorry, Raja, somebody asked Java Cloud Service, right? So if you have the Java Cloud Service, then you'll be able to deploy this ADF application to cloud. Either Sova Cloud Service or Java Cloud Service. In both the cases, you'll be getting the WebLogic server on the cloud. Then what you do generally, you are going to have a pass model whenever you want to have a customization or extension of your Sova applications. So you are going to get different scenarios there. You have to deal with something like this. You will be having your pass model. Pass model means you're having your own database on the cloud. Then you're having your own schema design there. You develop ADF application with the help of this schema. This ADF application can communicate with the Fusion applications with the help of the REST or SOAP services. So in fact, I'm going to talk about these scenarios when we are doing this part 4. I'll take different scenarios and I'll explain. Scenarios means, let's say in the scenario 1, we are having only REST services from Fusion applications. And how you can use the REST services for implementing your custom UI using VBCS, using your ADF. But more theoretical terms I'm going to talk there. I'll be showing some examples, but you'll get complete picture about the architecture when you're taking the decisions based on the scenarios where your data is available, whether REST service or SOAP service, when you go for your on-premise database, when you go for your cloud database, when it's a PaaS model, what exactly it means. You'll be getting some more idea about that one. But I think now also you understood, right? In the Fusion applications, you don't have access directly on the database, right? So what you will do now, if you want to create a custom page, the custom page has to be built based on some SOAP or REST service which is available in the Fusion applications. And that custom page will be developed using either VBCS, ADF, or Oracle Apex also possible. And then you're going to deploy that. If it is VBCS, there's nothing called deployment, it is already in the cloud. If it is Oracle ADF, either you can deploy that in your on-premise WebLogic server, or you can also deploy to your cloud, Java Cloud Service WebLogic server.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Right. Any other questions from anyone? Otherwise, I'll be winding up here.
So, hi Bhaskar, I joined the session late. So, can you please explain that what you will be covering in Flavor 1 and Flavor 2 in brief, very brief?
No problem. I'll do that. Yeah. Let me take the questions from anyone else, then I'll talk to you about that. Anybody else has any other questions?
Bhaskar, if I take part 1, like I will get OIC access, right?
Yes.
For 3 months.
Yes.
Can I able to connect this OIC access because I'm already working on Fusion Technical? Can I connect this OIC instance to my development instance and can practice this?
Your development instance in the Fusion instance?
Yeah.
Yes, you can do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bhaskar, what is the training schedule, Bhaskar? Will it be like?
So this one, we are going to do the morning sessions of Indian time. I'm not sure if you guys are in India. Some of you guys are not in. So here we'll be starting these sessions. In fact, not from 21st. I think we were thinking to start from 21st or 22nd. But I was not well actually last week, etc. So I'm having some pending work to complete next week. So I'll be starting on 30th September. And I'm thinking about 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. sessions, IST. And usually I'm doing alternate days. So it will be like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Saturday and Friday like 2 consecutive days. So all these 4 days will be having training. Why I'm doing this way? Because you need additional time for practices in between sessions. So Monday session, you're having Monday, then Tuesday and Wednesday, like that. Then Wednesday, like we're having 2 days for practice, etc. Other alternate, sometimes we also do like Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. 3-day sessions also we do sometimes. So based on which flavor you are going for, either Sahan or myself will be able to communicate with you exactly either it's going to be these days or these days. But the time will be same, 7:30 to 9 a.m. IST, this one, from 30th. If somebody want in the evening sessions of IST, that we may be starting maybe after another like 2nd week of October or something like that. And in case of evening sessions, usually we'll be doing like either 8:30 p.m. IST or 9:30 p.m. IST, something like that. The exact schedule I'll be able to send you when we start that. Like some days I say if I'm having 4 days, like 2 days I may be doing 8:30 and 1 day I may be doing like 9:30 also. I'll give that proper schedule in advance. Based on some other meetings and all I will be scheduling that. But not like every week changing. Once we create the schedule, we'll be following the same schedule for all the weeks. This one won't change. This one again, I know either this or this. Okay. All right. Any questions on the schedule? Okay, guys. Thank you so much for listening to me.
I think this is for 3 months, right?
No, this will take, if you're going for flavor 1, it will be done within 4 weeks. Okay. In the flavor 2, it will go about 6 to 7 weeks. Okay. And then let me actually answer a question from, left already. No, so I didn't get your name. Actually, I see you logged in as Babita Arora, but I'm sorry. What's your name?
Yes, I logged in with some other name. My name is Akshay.
Akshay, okay. Oh yeah, Akshay. So in the flavor 1, what we are doing, we are only talking about integration cloud. Okay. And in the flavor 2, we are also covering integration cloud plus Fusion Technical. So here, if you come to this course content, this is the flavor 2, integration cloud, Fusion Technical. Then you're having live integration with Fusion applications. Then you're having ADF, SOA, PCS, PBCS, all that, like, the overview. These are the flavor 2. If you want flavor 1.
Sorry to interrupt you, but if I will opt for flavor 1, then will you cover the basics also in ICS, like for loop, if all that you showed in demo session, right?
Yeah, that is all, of course. That is more important, in fact, for flavor in the flavor 1. Yeah, that whole thing, whatever I shown in this, right? This will be covered for the flavor 1 also.
Okay.
This whole thing. This is actually flavor 1 also. I'm going to cover whatever I was talking here. All these scenarios. In fact, more than that, we'll be covering more than that. In fact, there is separate course content. I don't have that. One second, I can open that also. Hold on. For the flavor 1.
Thank you. My question is answered.
No problem. I'm just trying to open. If somebody wants this, I can also share this. So this is the flavor 1 course content. I've taken like to most of the things from part 1. Plus I'm adding Oracle SOA and 1 or 2 integrations with Fusion applications. Like that. So this is a flavor 1. These things are also there in addition to your part 1. Okay, guys. I think that's all right. Anything else? Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you, Bhaskar. Appreciate it.